We are going to wrap up. Now, Freeze Out came up, so it's been a couple weeks, right? Rewards in heaven. We were talking about rewards in heaven and what they're like. So we already talked about, are there different rewards for different people? Apparently so. Like, remember in Jesus' parable, one servant got, hey, well done, take charge of 10 cities. Another servant, well done, you take charge of 5 cities, right? So it seems like there's some degrees of rewards going on. And we looked at some other scriptures too that I'm not going to go over. And then what determines the rewards? Does anybody remember what determines the rewards? What determines like the how much rewards we get? Anybody remember? Yeah, what we've done, right? So let's check out Matthew 16, right? And we can find Matthew 16. And Jesus is talking, and he's talking about rewards and how he's going to reward people, okay? And it's exactly what Evelyn said. Matthew 16 and verse 27. All right? So Jesus is talking, and he says, you know what? The Son of Man is going to come with his angels in the glory of his Father. And then he will repay each person according to what he has done. Okay? Repay or reward each person. I think I've got NIV on the screen here, and I read ESV. Okay? But Jesus is going to reward or repay according to what we've done. Okay? Now, remember, we talked about this. We all know nobody can earn their way into heaven. Okay, so what Jesus is talking about here is, all right, you're a heaven-bound individual by faith, right? What determines whether you get charged of 10 cities or 5 cities or whatever else? It's how responsible you've been with what God's given you to do here on earth. Okay, it's sort of like is giving out what level of rewards you get in heaven. Okay, we understand that, right? We're not earning heaven by what you do. Can't do that. It's impossible. Jesus paid for us to get in. All right, Matthew 10. Same book of Matthew, right? So just easy to turn over a few pages to check out Matthew 10, verse 42. There's another reward statement there that Jesus makes. And this is a really neat little verse. You don't have to do amazing things to get rewarded by our Heavenly Father. It's simply the very last verse of Matthew 10 says this: whoever gives one of these little ones even a cup of cold water because he's a disciple, I say to you, he'll by no means lose his reward. Isn't that cool? So simply giving someone a cup of cold water, Jesus takes note of that. Okay, so I just want, isn't that like nice? Like, oh, you mean I don't have to climb Mount Everest to get a reward? You know, I mean, that'd be pretty tough, right? It's simply giving someone a cup of cold water. How about when somebody's, not that brothers and sisters are not kind to you all the time, but let's say somebody in your family or a friend even, or an enemy, does something unkind to you. Paying them back with kindness, guess what? That's probably even a bigger reward than giving somebody a cup of cold water who was nice. Cute little kid, cup of cold water. Oh, that's nice. Get a reward for that. Well, if somebody is unkind to you and you pay them back with kindness, that's cool. All right? So we're not talking about huge things here. We're talking about just serving God in the little things of life. You get rewarded for that. I don't know about you guys. Do you ever feel like to be rewarded by God, you got to do like some great, amazing thing? No? Do you ever feel like to get rewarded by God requires some amazing thing, right? It can feel like that sometimes. God simply, he wants the little things. He wants us to be faithful in quote unquote little things. Do you know what? It is not easy when somebody is unkind to you. It's not easy to be kind back. But on the other hand, it's not impossible either, right? He's not asking you to fly to the moon or something, right? He's asking you something you can do, all right? So what determines the rewards? Things we do, and those things are often little things, and they're very, very doable, especially with him helping us. Okay. All right, so we've covered those two things, all right? Today, that was in the past week, so that was kind of review. What are the rewards like? Okay, what is heaven like, for example? And what is it going to be like? Now, it's impossible in just a few minutes to talk about everything that heaven's going to be like. You know, it's going to take me the rest of my life to figure that out, and then I'm still not going to even know. But, yeah. Revealing the curtain here. I got a little celebration here. Heaven's going to be a celebration, okay? Hearing well done. Well done. That's going to be... Picture this, okay? You're a kid. Have you ever seen like a little child, or when you were a little child, you like make a picture for mom or dad or something, or make a picture for somebody, right? And how do mom and dad feel about your picture? Yeah, like, oh, thank you. Now, well, actually, some of those pictures, even though they're never going to be hung up in a museum, sometimes parents keep some of those for a long time. Sometimes not. You can't keep every single one, right? What happened?
There's just a meme thing on the internet right now.
Oh, okay.
Girl that gave her mom a picture and it was not it.
Okay. Yes, it means a lot. And guys, God is like that. God is like that. Sometimes the things that I do for God, the things that I give to God, are kind of like a toddler's picture. It's not going to win any prizes in the eyes of the earth, but God values it greatly. God's very much like that. Okay. Hearing well done is great. So let's check out 1 Corinthians 4. All right, 1 Corinthians 4, verse 5. Paul wrote Corinthians, of course. And in verse 5, this is the very last sentence of verse 5. Okay? So I'm not going to, I didn't put the whole verse on the screen here, and I don't want to focus on the whole verse, but just at the very end of verse 5, Paul says this: at that time, each person will receive his praise from God. Okay? Or another way to say it, the ESV uses the word commendation. You're going to get commended, thanked, even praised. Wow! Can you imagine hearing well done, good job from the creator of the universe? Wow. I mean, let it sink in a little bit. Usually don't we focus on, and it's right to focus on, we are thanking God. We are praising God. We are saying good things about God. But can you imagine the God of all the universe that thunders from heaven saying, good job, Drew? Can you imagine that? That is going to be insane. Right? You can't. It's impossible to overemphasize it. It's like if you're a basketball player. Sorry, I just have a lot of. If you're a basketball player and you don't even know he's there, but LeBron James comes up to you after the game and says, "Dude, you did a good job." You're like, right? You know, it'd be like, what in the world? Okay, that's not even a good analogy. There is no good analogy to compare. All right, check out Romans 2. Same kind of thing. This is not uncommon in the Bible, where Paul is talking here in Romans 2. And again, it's just a part of Romans 2, verse 29, where he says, you know what? There's a kind of person, somebody who's circumcised in the heart. Okay, so the whole verse, 2:29, Romans 2:29 says this: but a Jew, like a real Jew, is one inwardly. And circumcision is a matter of the heart, by the Spirit, not by the letter. His praise is not from man, but from God. So don't you feel good when you get praised by people? I mean, you do, right? I mean, if a teacher says, "Hey, good job on your paper," or if your parents say, "Hey, good job at this," or whatever. I mean, obviously, it feels good, right? You play a game, you do a musical or whatever it is. When people say, "Hey, you were really good," who doesn't like that? But can you imagine? Wow, it's a whole nother level when it comes from God. Whole nother level. And then John 5. Okay, we're going all over the place today. John 5 is another one where Jesus says, "How can you guys believe?" He's talking to the Pharisees. John 5, verse 44. How can you guys believe when you're accepting glory, you're accepting praise from one another, but you're not seeking the glory or the praise that comes from God? See how that's tied with faith there? He's saying, hey, you Pharisees, you are having trouble believing because you care more about people's compliments instead of God's compliments. You want to hear people say, well done, more than you want to hear God say, well done. And that is hindering your faith. You're having a hard time believing because of it. Okay, so these are just 3 verses. Could have gotten a lot more. Just 3 verses where God is going to say, well done. And we know Jesus talks about it too. But well done, good and faithful servant. Good job. So part of the reward is this. Hearing well done. That is a reward in and of itself. Every time you do something good, hearing well done, the person who says that doesn't even need to give you anything, right? Sometimes the compliment itself is good enough, right? It is a reward. It's a rush, especially when God says, well done. Okay, another aspect of the reward. What are the rewards like? Living with God. Now, this is hard to wrap our minds around, okay? Living with God. What is that going to be like? Well, check out Revelation 21. Man. Revelation 21, living with God. There's a new heaven and a new earth coming. Okay, this heaven and earth is going to be passing away. Revelation 21, 1 through 4 says this. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. And I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, behold, the dwelling place of God is with man. He will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them as their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. Death will be no more, and there will be no mourning or crying or pain, for the former things have passed away. Check that out. God's dwelling place is now with the people. Like God is just with them in a way that he hasn't been before. It's a new thing. New heavens, new earth. Whoa. God's just hanging out with them. Okay. Now, I don't know. This is where the Bible doesn't talk about this directly, right? But God, you know how, well, the Bible does say that God's everywhere, right? God is down below, up above. There's nowhere to hide from God. Like in heaven, it might be like God being everywhere. It might be like you get to hang out with God and I get to hang out with God. I can go on a walk with God and you can go on a walk with God. You know what I'm saying? It might be kind of weird. I run into you in heaven. It's like, dude, God showed me this crazy stuff today. And you're like, me too. It's like, dude, God took me to this place. It was mind blowing. You're like, oh no, dude, what I saw today was mind blowing. God's not limited, right? He's everywhere, and so I don't know. none of that is biblical. Like it's not like right out of the Bible. It's just like kind of how I imagine, and I might be totally wrong, but it's still kind of cool to wonder. Yeah.
How will we like? I'm sure this has been answered before, but how will we like look in heaven? Like, how will we recognize each other? I was just thinking like my aunt that passed away
Mm-hmm.
one way, and if she's perfect in heaven, then she's, you know what I mean?
Right. I
Like,
do know
will
what you
our-
mean. Yeah. That's a good question. That I don't think I know, but it seems like we're going to be recognizable. It kind of seems that way. Um, what makes me say that though? Yeah, yeah.
Will we be like people in heaven? Like, will we be like
Well, we'll have a new body, okay? So Paul is asked, I think in 1 Corinthians maybe 15, where the Corinthians said, or hey, what kind of body will we have? And he's like, well, there's different kinds of bodies. There's, fish have a kind of body, birds have a kind of body, people have a kind of body, and there's also spiritual bodies, and there's, earthly bodies. So we're going to have a new and improved body, but I think we're still going to have bodies. But there's not going to be marriage in heaven, though. Jesus said that. But like the disciples, after Jesus rose, they certainly recognized him. So recognizable, but different. And God, and we're going to be smarter too. We're going to be better at recognizing people. So that might be a factor too. Like, yeah, like, dude, Moses, I've heard a lot about you. Pleasure to meet you. Yeah. Totally. I'm just saying, some people are closer to perfection. No, I have no idea. Hair, doesn't it talk about though God in Revelation? Doesn't talk about Jesus' hair as white as like white and eyes like fire. I don't know if that's symbolic or what. I don't really know specific.
like people die at like different ages, right? So like, this is such a stupid question.
No. Our baby's gonna be crawling around in heaven.
They have never, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Earth,
Somehow I feel like they're gonna be like, in whatever the perfect state is for them, I kind of feel like we're all gonna be adults, but I don't know why I feel that way. These are all awesome things. Okay, do you guys understand? Like, there's no one right answer to some of these questions because the Bible. That's why you have a question on it, because like the Bible doesn't really tell us, but it is so great to explore and wonder about. Like, all these questions you guys have are really good to have. I really think like part of the weakness of Christianity today, sometimes Christians are weaker than they need to be because they don't spend enough time pondering God. Even pondering heaven and what it's going to be like. It can cause you to have some wonder for heaven. Like, oh man, I wonder if it's going to be like this. Just like I said a minute ago, I have no idea if it's true. If like I went for an awesome walk with God and then I bump into you and you went for an awesome walk with God today. I have no idea if it's going to be like that, but thinking about that, trying to stretch my imagination makes me long for heaven more. Do you see what I'm saying? And if I'm longing for heaven more, what am I not longing for? The things on this life as much, right? I want to be more heavenly minded. So all these questions are really good. To most of them, I'm like, I have no idea. I'm not 100% sure. But I even like the questions because then I'm like, wonder if I'm going to have hair again in heaven. That's really wild, right? Dude. Yeah, right. I don't know, but I think what happened? I'm on what?
Ginger.
Oh. It's like my eyebrows. They're close, actually. I feel like they're pretty close.
My eyebrows are like the same color as my hair. You should get a toupee.
Okay. Anyway, all right, we are slowly transferring to wondering about heaven, to wondering about my hair. Okay, and don't take this the wrong way. Don't take this the wrong way at all. That's weird. Okay, no, all right, let's move. All right, John 14, 3. Look at how Jesus phrases this here. I love how Jesus talks about. Do you know? I think the next verse or two that we're going to look at, I think Jesus is looking forward to being with us too. You ever think about that? I think Jesus is looking forward to being with us. I think he can't wait, actually. I mean, he can wait, like, in terms of being patient. But, like, look at John 14. This is where Jesus is talking about. He just got done. In verse 2, right before this, he says, in my Father's house, there's many rooms. Okay? And he said, I'm going to make a place for you. I'm preparing your room. I'm doing some remodeling. And if I go and make a special place for you, I'm going to come again and take you to me, that where I am, you can be too. You get to be with me. I'm going to come back and get you and take you to this place I've prepared for you. You ever, like, prepare a surprise party for somebody?
No, I never proceed.
You like decorate. I mean, what does it mean to prepare a place? You ever think about that? Like, what is he like? Like, is he like remodeling a spot for me in heaven or something? Like, what's going on? couple pages over in John 17, look at what he says. He's praying to his Father. And he says this in verse 24, Father, I want those you've given me to be with me where I am and to see my glory, the glory you've given me because you loved me before the creation of the world. Do you see that? I want them to be with me. Picture that. Man, I just want Caden to be with me where I am. Seriously? I want June to come hang out with me. Like, really? Like, that's amazing. Again, thinking about these things. When I think about these things, it makes me want to live for him. It's like this, man, that is cool. Right? I mean, I can't wait. It makes me, can't wait for this. Okay? All right. So first, we're going to hear well done. Secondly, just being with God, living with God is going to be reward enough. Okay, like that's going to be mind-blowing. So, we're just sketching out a few ideas here. We've looked at different rewards for different people, what determines the rewards. We've looked at what are the rewards like. And then in the final part here, should we be motivated by the rewards, right? Should rewards motivate us, and to what extent should they? So we're going to look at a few verses about that.
Right. Wait, don't go yet.
All right. I'll do it one more time. Not that this is at all special or at all something you should be remembering.
Oh, well. Whoa.
Oh,
hey, what's that city?
All right. That's Chicago, I think. But like, I put it because it's like city in the clouds, Huh? All right. Hebrews 11:26. In Hebrews 11, do you guys know, I think I've mentioned this before, but Hebrews 11 is often known as the faith chapter. The faith chapter. Okay? It talks about faith a lot. In fact, at the beginning of Hebrews 11, it defines what faith is. So if you ever want to read, study a good chapter on what faith is. Hebrews 11 is called the Hall of Faith. Like not the Hall of Fame, the Hall of Faith. Okay? And it talks about all these people living by faith. And so this is talking about Moses in verse 26, but it talks about Abraham in the chapter and all different kinds of things. But look at this. Moses, he regarded disgrace for the sake of Christ as of greater value than the treasures of Egypt. Why? Because he was looking ahead to his reward. So Moses was looking ahead to his reward, and that helped him to not value the treasures of Egypt. It helped him to think that, disgrace, being disgraced and made fun of and mocked for Christ is better than being showered with treasures from the world. Because he knew he had better rewards coming. So, is being motivated by rewards good? Seems like it, right? Seems like it. That seems to be what this would be indicating. Make sense? Same book, right? Hebrews. Turning back to chapter 10. Okay, so once you found Hebrews, right, very easy. Just turn the page back. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 35. Check it out. Do not throw away your confidence. Why? It'll be richly rewarded. So, thinking about the rewards can help us to persevere. Okay? It can help us to persevere when going gets tough, when you're tempted to lack confidence. Thinking about the rewards can boost our confidence. Give us a little boost here. And then there's Ephesians. So we got to go backwards to Ephesians a little bit. And Ephesians chapter 6. Paul's writing here, and he's talking to slaves or servants or bondservants, depending how you translate the Greek word, okay? And he's telling them, hey guys, even if you have it hard, like you're a slave, you're a servant, you don't have the best job in the world, okay? Deal with it gracefully, okay? He says, serve wholeheartedly. That's what he's telling the servants or the slaves to do. Hey guys, serve wholeheartedly as if you're serving the Lord and not people. Because you know that the Lord will reward each person for whatever he does, whether they're slave or free. And I have no idea whether there's a question mark there. Okay. With a box around. I have no idea where that came from. But anyway. Yeah, it's an error. Yeah. All right. So he's telling, hey guys, he's saying to slaves, servants, not fun to be a slave. I mean, I don't know if you guys, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'd like to be a slave. That sounds good. No, nobody really wants to do that. Okay? But he's saying, hey guys, serve wholeheartedly like you're serving the Lord, not people, because you know a reward is coming. Right? That can help you if you're in a bad situation, you're in a tough situation, you're in a class you don't like, you're in a situation you don't like, whatever it is, you know what? Take that class wholeheartedly. Study wholeheartedly. Do that thing you don't want to do wholeheartedly as if you're serving the Lord, because you're going to get a reward for whatever good you do. Okay? So having focus on reward can help us when the going gets tough. Now, generally speaking, serving God, I find love to be a greater motivator. Thinking about God's love for me, loving God, that motivates me more. But sometimes focusing on the rewards can be helpful when the going gets tough. Okay? So I'm not at all trying to imply here that the reward of heaven is the primary motivator. It could be a big motivator, but I think we have lots of motivators to serve God. Okay, lots of motivators. This is just one of them. Good? Makes sense? Okay. And, all right. Crown. in 1 Corinthians 9. One more motivator verse. And this is going to wrap into or go into what we've done about training, right? Spiritual training. Right? We've talked about exercising ourselves, training ourselves to be more godly. And this verse relates to it. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, toward the end here, Paul says, you know what? Every athlete, everyone who competes in the games, okay, so the athletes, they go into strict training. And they do it to get a crown that's not going to last. But we do it. We do the training. We discipline ourselves spiritually to get a crown that will last forever. So let the crown that's coming to you and me, let that crown be motivating, right? Let it be motivating. I'm going to use a basketball analogy again, simply because Paul uses athletics, all right? So it could be any sport, right? The reward, getting a medal or a trophy, that could be motivator, right? That could be motivating. Getting applause, hearing the coach say, well done, that's motivating. But isn't there also a love of the game, an enjoyment of the game? Yeah, it all fits together that way, okay? So let the love of the game, let the love of Christ motivate you and push you, and also the well done that's coming. Let that team up to give you lots of motivation, okay? The crown that they get, in the games back then, do you know what the crown was like? It was like leaves. Have you seen pictures? It's like a crown or like a wreath goes around their head. So yeah, it definitely doesn't last very long. They don't even get a gold crown. They get these leaves, that are going to be like falling down, turning all brown and stinking, pretty quick. So, and yet that motivated the athletes enough. Like, why are you doing it? I want the crown of leaves, man. But we have a crown, the crown of righteousness, Paul calls it, that God's going to give to everyone who loves his coming, who loves his appearing. Amazing. All right. Any thoughts? Any other questions? We're about done. So, anything? I hope you, when you have a hard time, if you can just think, oh man, I feel like throwing away my confidence. Remember that verse from, I think, Hebrews said, don't do that. It's going to be rewarded. Reward's coming. Hopefully it helps you hold on. Okay. Hopefully some of these things help. All right. Well, let's pray. Lord God, we just